Hey guys, today we are going to be taking a look at this Panasonic 12-inch oscillating fan from the 1980s. Now this fan is in need of some attention electrically because the capacitor has become disconnected from the motor. The solder joint has come undone, so we're going to fix that, and also we're going to fabricate a new handle for it because it is missing it. Now with these Panasonic fans, the handle is not welded to the back of the grill, but instead it's a separate piece of wire that's kind of pushed into two little holes on the motor housing. So if you're not really careful when you're assembling these, they can get lost. And I think that's what happened with this one. So I got a new stainless steel rod that's of the correct diameter. So we're going to fit it onto here, and hopefully we'll have a nice handle. Now the motor needs attention too. The bearings are very gummed up and it doesn't really get up to speed. But because this fan has a very annoying riveted motor, I think I'm going to save that project for another time because I don't think I have the time to kind of tackle that right now. So in this video, this is going to be part one. We're going to tackle the handle and also the capacitor, so at least we can get the fan electrically sound and partially cosmetically sound, and we'll take care of the mechanics in another video. So let's get right into it. Okay, so as far as disassembly is concerned, I've already taken the oscillator pin off from a previous inspection. Now as far as the fan goes, there's a single Phillips head screw on the back, so we'll take that off. Now unfortunately, not too long ago, a little tragedy struck in the workshop here. My screwdriver broke. You can see the bit holder cracked, so the bit's not really fitting in there that well. So it's gonna work though because it does hold. So for light duty jobs, it'll be okay, but I might have to retire this screwdriver unfortunately. So here we go. Okay, the motor housing is off. It's pretty clean inside actually. We'll clean this at a later date when I go over the entire mechanics and all that. And since we're here, we might as well take a look at the motor before we dive into the repair. So we have a permanent split capacitor motor with the capacitor here, which is giving us the trouble. Now this motor is very well made, as you'd expect from a Japanese product, but it's just not really built for servicing because the two halves of the motor are riveted together, so you can't simply undo these. These are permanent fasteners. So if you want to take them apart, which in my case I do need to because the bearings are very stiff. I can try to spin the blades. So yeah, the bearings are pretty gummed up, so in order to take them apart I have to drill these out, and that's another hour or so of extra labor, and I'm not really up for that today, so we'll save that for another date. It's got a little board here where all the wires solder onto. There's the winding leads, gearbox, so very well made, just not really designed for servicing, which is unfortunate. So anyways, the culprit here is the capacitor wire, which has become disconnected. I think it was just a bad solder joint and this just kind of popped out. So we'll solder this back on and hopefully electrically this fan will be 100% again. Hey, I just noticed something pretty interesting. That little white capsule inside there is the thermal fuse. And it's in a location where it will still do its job and trip if the motor overheats, but at the same time it's very repair friendly. Just undo the solder joints there and pop it out, put a new one in there, solder it again, and you're good to go. So funny enough, this fan has one of the most difficult to service motor, but one of the most easiest to service thermal fuse. So thought that was kind of cool. So anyways, let's get the capacitor wired back up. Alright, so I got the soldering iron warmed up, and we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to melt the existing solder and try to reattach it. If that doesn't work, I'll add my own. So let's get this warmed up. Try to hold it like that. Trying to see if I can warm it up, ideally from underneath, but not sure if I want to do that in this case. Not sure if that's the best soldering joint. Let me touch that up with my own. Just a little bit of extra solder. And I think that's good. So with the capacitor all taken care of, we're just going to work on the handle. And in order to access the mounting points, I'm going to have to take the grills and the blades off, which is not a difficult task. Simply undo all of these clips, which are actually kind of tricky to take apart because the tabs on these are so small compared to a regular oscillating fan, or most others, I should say. Ah, jeez. That hurts my hand. Okay, so once that's released, front grill comes off. We'll set that aside, and the blades are held on by a very standard counterclockwise threaded spinner nut. Take that off. And they both come off. Set that aside, and of course we have the back grill, which comes off just like that. Okay, perfect. So now we are left with this, and they actually call it a hanger, even though handle's probably the better terminology for this. So those are the mounting points, and there are two of them here, so I'm just going to take this out of the packaging. Okay. So here we have this rod, so I'm going to have to form this into a shape so that it goes into this hole, be bent 90 degrees, come up and fit through the slot like that, bend slightly backwards and out, form a handle and come back and go back into the housing. So I think that's doable. I'm just going to have to do some calculations to see how much to bend and where, so I'll be right back. So after a little bit of calculation, I've concluded that this is the best dimension for this handle. So I've got that little section there that's going to fit into the motor housing, a little vertical section that's going to go straight up, and of course the part of the handle that's going to be exposed from the back. So I'm going to grab my bench vise, and hopefully we'll be able to form this into a new handle. Okay, well it's been a couple hours, but I got the handle finished, and here's the final product. So it does match the design specifications that I wrote here. Same dimensions and same shape as I intended, and I believe this is close to the original. So it's got a slight backward bend to it, kind of goes upwards, and I had to grind some spots down to make the handle fit on here better. And speaking of fit, let's go ahead and just put it right back on. Fits on there like that. And we can put the grill back on like so. And voila, there's the finished handle, and I think it looks fantastic. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. So it has a nice, easy to grip shape. So it looks good, looks original, and it's functional. So I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Now, luckily for us, this fan has a matte metallic silver finish for the grill, not chrome, so I don't have to do any modifications to change the appearance of the handle. The stainless steel happens to match it perfectly. So, very happy with how this turned out. So I guess the only thing left for us to do is just to put it back together for now, and we'll give it a little test run, even though the motor is extremely stiff, but it is now electrically sound, so it should be good to run anyways. So let's put it back together. Alright, so to close out this video, let's give this fan a test run. So now it works, but as you can see, the bearings are incredibly stiff. The fan is struggling to get up to speed. There is medium and high speed, which actually is moving some air thanks to its very steeply pitched blades, but it's not good for the motor and it's not really practical. And the oscillator does work as well, but I'm not going to put the knob back in just yet because it's kind of a task to get the little tabs apart and pull it off, so I'm going to keep it off and store it like that until next time. So that's going to be for this video, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.